Today we're going to talk about the preterite tense and what that means as opposed to the present tense. So to talk about things that happen in the present, we use the present tense. For example, I buy, he talks, etc. However, if we were going to talk about things that happened in the past, we need to use the preterite tense. Instead of saying I buy, if we want to say I bought, instead of saying he talks or he is talking, we say he talked, or etc. So we already know the present tense ends in o, as, a, amos, ais, and an for AR verbs. We've memorized that chart, and we've been able to apply it to all of our verbs. To form AR verbs in the preterite tense, we're going to have a new chart that we use with those same verbs. So instead of o, as, a, amos, ais, an, we have e, aste, o, amos, astes, and aron. Here you can see some very important differences. There is no longer an accent on the vosotros form. The yo form and the la usted form, however, do have accents. Another big thing that you'll notice is that the nosotros form is still amos. So if the nosotros form is the same in the present and the preterite tense, how do you know which one is going to be used? It's pretty simple. If you were telling a story about what happened yesterday, and I say, nosotros hablamos ayer, we talked yesterday, the word yesterday is going to let you know that it's not we talk yesterday, or I run yesterday. It's I ran yesterday, for example. So you're just going to have to use the context of the sentence to know which tense is being used for the nosotros form. So if we looked at it, for example, the verb enviar, which means to send, new verb, and we chopped off our ending, and our stem is envi, we just add our new endings, envié, enviaste, envió, enviamos, enviastes, and enviaron. I sent, you sent, he, she sent, we sent, you all sent, they or you all sent. Again, notice the accent marks on the yo form and the la usted form. We need to be careful of a couple of spelling changes, however. Verbs that end in gar, for example, yegar, hugar, follow the same pattern as AR verbs except in the yo form. Their ending becomes gue. So for example, if we looked at yegar and we conjugate it, in the yo form, you're going to see that in addition to adding our new ending, we're also going to insert the letter u in there. So it becomes llegué, llegaste, llegó, llegamos, llegastes, and llegaron. If we do not have the u in there, the g before an e makes a soft h sound, so it would be sounding like yehe instead of yege. And of course, we want the hard g sound, so we insert a u to do so. Anytime you see other verbs that are gar verbs, for example, pagar, hugar, regar, which means to water, and you want to say I played, I paid, or I watered, yo jugué, yo pagué, yo regué, where you can see all the u's in the yo form. Everywhere else in the verb, they are regular. So jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugastes, jugaron, pagaste, pagó, pagamos, pagastes, pagaron, regaste, regó, regamos, regastes, and regaron. This is also going to apply to car verbs. Any verb that ends in car, it's also going to have a different type of spelling change. They are going to change in the yo form, but instead of gue, they become que. So if we look at sakar, which means to take out, instead of sace with an accent, it becomes saque with an accent, for the same reason that we do not want the soft c sound to make it sound like sase, we want it to say sake, sacaste, sacó, sacamos, sacastes, sacaron. I took out, you took out, he or she took out, we took out, y'all took out, or they took out. Again, we need to change it to a que in just the yo form. You can see every other form is regular. The last one that we're going to work with are zar verbs. Here are some other car verbs that will do that. Tocar means to play, as in the guitar. Pescar means to fish. Buscar means to look for. Practicar means to practice. Yo toqué, yo pesqué, yo busqué, yo practiqué. I touched, I played, I fished, I looked for, and I practiced. Yo practiqué. The last chunk of verbs that we're going to talk about are verbs that end in zar. And we're going to call this group that ends or changes in the yo form in the preterite tense car, gar, and zar verbs. So anytime you hear car, gar, zar, know that you need to change the yo form in the preterite tense. Verbs that end in zar are going to change in the yo form, and their ending becomes ce with an accent. So the z changes to a c. So we don't have to insert a u here. However, the Z in the yo form changes to a C. Empecé, empezaste, empezó, empezamos, empezastes, and empezaron. Again, regular everywhere else, except in the yo form, the Z changes to a C. I started, you started, he started, we started, y'all started, they started. Other verbs that end in zar, comenzar is also to start. Almorzar means to have lunch, and cruzar means to cross. Yo comencé, I started. Yo almorcé, I had lunch. Yo crucé, I crossed. And again, all together we call this group of verbs car, gar, zar verbs, meaning they change in the yo form of the preterite tense. So whenever you have a set of conjugations in front of you, always check to say, are there any car, gar, zar verbs, and are those verbs in the yo form? Looking now at the differences between the preterite and the present tense, we can see that siero, sieras, siera, seramos, serais, and sieran is going to be the present tense conjugation of the verb, where our ending is o, as, a, amos, ais, an. We also have a stem change e to ie in the boot. If we look at serar in the preterite tense, meaning I closed, you closed, he, she closed, we closed, y'all closed, or they closed, it is going to be seré, seraste, seró, seramos, serastes, and seraron. Notice how the stem change e to ie, the whole boot verb idea, does not apply to the preterite tense. In the preterite tense, those stem changes do not apply. So it is not like siere, it is just seré, no stem change. So again, stem changing verbs do not have a stem change in the preterite tense, only in the present tense. If we want to use the past tense, again, if we were talking about how the nosotros forms are the same, how do we tell the difference? We have to use other words in the sentence to tip us off. There are important words to talk about the past. For example, yesterday is ayer, we've already known. Last night is anoche. Last week is la semana pasada. Last year is el año pasado. 2 years ago, hace 2 años. All of these words are going to help us know if we're talking in the past. So if you see them in a sentence, you know that we're speaking in the past. So if we looked at some examples, Ricardo took out the trash last night. Sacó la basura anoche. Enviaste tú una carta del correo. Did you send a letter? Julia y Guillermo llegaron a las 9:30. They arrived at 9:30. Mi madre y yo compramos los comestibles en el supermercado. We bought food in the market. Juan depositó $100 en el banco. He deposited $100 in the bank. Yo patiné en el parque el verano pasado. I skated in the park last summer. Cocinaron tú y David anoche para la familia. Did you and David cook last night for the family? Mis amigos escucharon música antes de la escuela. They listened to music before school. Yo pagué, here's a cargar zar. Yo pagué $7 por el suéter. I paid $7 for the sweater. And la clase de español empezó tarde ayer. It started late yesterday. Ella esquió en las montañas el año pasado. She skied in the mountains last year. Mi padre lavó los platos ayer. He washed the dishes yesterday. Yo saqué, another cargar zar, changes in the yo form preterite tense. Yo saqué un libro de la biblioteca anoche. I took out a book from the library last night. Mis amigos y yo estudiamos para la clase de español anoche. I'm sorry, mis amigos y yo estudiamos para la clase de español anoche. You can see here, because of the word anoche, we know that it's we studied last night instead of we are studying. Yo jugué, another cargar zar. Yo jugué al baloncesto con Tomás el miércoles. I played basketball with Tomás on Wednesday. Here are your ER verb endings in the present tense. So now that we've covered AR verbs, we're going to look at ER and IR verbs. We know that ER verbs in the present tense are o, es, a, amos, ace, and n. And that IR verbs are basically the same except for the nosotros and vosotros, o, es, a, emos, is, and n. In the preterite tense, ER and IR verbs have the same endings. So there's no more distinction between the nosotros and the vosotros form. You can use the same chart for both ER and IR verbs. To form an ER or an IR verb, we use these endings. Iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron. Where you can see it's going to follow more of an IR pattern as opposed to an AR pattern. E aste o, iste io, imos, istes, ieron. Again, accents on the yo form, the LAU stead form, and no longer on the vosotros. Here are some examples of using those. ¿Qué comieron ustedes en la cena anoche? What did you all eat for dinner last night? Mario salió, from salir, salió de la fiesta a la medianoche. He left from the party at midnight. Yo viví en Houston hace 2 años. I lived in Houston 2 years ago. Margarita y yo bebimos un refresco en el almuerzo. Margarita and I drank soda for lunch. Subiste tú la montaña en Peru el año pasado? Did you climb? Subir means to go up or to climb. Did you climb the mountain in Peru last year? Mi madre sacudió todos los muebles ayer. She dusted all the furniture yesterday. Yo dormí 8 horas anoche. I slept 8 hours last night. Notice how dormir does not change O to UE. That stem changes in the present tense and no longer in the preterite tense. Mis amigos y yo comimos en Portillo's ayer. My friends and I ate at Portillo's yesterday. Mi familia vivió en una casa azul. My family lived in a blue house. And cuando salieron ustedes anoche? When did you all leave last night? So again, our endings for ER and IR verbs are iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron. Yo devolví el libro a la biblioteca ayer. I returned the book to the library yesterday, from devolver. Mario y sus amigos subieron las pirámides en México. Mario and his friends climbed the pyramids of Mexico. Maria almorzó en Quiznos el lunes pasado. Maria ate lunch in Quiznos last Monday. Mi familia vivió en Arizona hace 2 años. My family lived in Arizona 2 years ago. Yo sacudí los muebles la semana pasada. I dusted furniture last week. And I believe that's it for ER and IR verbs. What we're going to do now is quickly cover a few irregular verbs that don't follow the exact pattern of all preterite tense verbs. They are just irregular verbs that you're just going to have to know. The first is ser. It means to be. So instead of saying I am, you are, he, she is, we're going to say I was, you were, he, she was. And it conjugates with it, starting with an F. Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuistes, and fueron. Notice the top 4 have I's. Fui, fuiste, fuimos, and fuistes, while the bottom 2 have E's. Fue and fueron. That is because you can remember that you have I's on the top of your head and I's are on the top of the verb chart for ser. Ir means to go, so instead of saying I go, he goes, I go, you go, he, she goes, we're going to say I went, you went, he, she went. It is going to conjugate the exact same way as ser. So the conjugation for ir and the conjugation for ser in the preterite tense are exactly the same. How do you know which one is being used? If you hear yo fui, you have to listen to what comes after it. For example, yo fui al parque. I went to the park. Yo fui simpático does not mean I went happy. It means I was happy. Yo fui simpático, yo fui al parque. So using the context of the sentence, you have to determine if you're talking about going somewhere or being something. Another verb that is irregular is hacer. The A changes to an I in the stem and then has hybrid endings. The best way to go about this verb is just to remember that it is very unique and to have all 6 forms down. It conjugates yo hice, I did, to hiciste, you did, so I did the homework, you did the homework, hice la tarea, hiciste la tarea, he, she did the homework. You're going to see that it changes to a ZO in the preterite tense. That is to avoid a hard C. If it was HICO, it would be pronounced eco, and we want it to be pronounced izo. So hizo la tarea, he did the homework. We did the homework, hicimos la tarea. You all did the homework, hicisteis la tarea. And you all or they did the homework, hicieron la tarea. You can see that there are no accents anywhere, and that the yo form and the lausted form tend to have AR verb endings, while every other form looks like it has ER and IR endings. We call this a hybrid verb, where it has a hybrid of AR and ER-IR endings. It is very irregular, and it's just important to know. The last two we're going to talk about are dar and ver. They conjugate very similarly, even though one is an AR verb and one is an ER verb. They conjugate as diste, dio, dimos, distes, dieron. I gave, you gave, he, she gave, we gave, y'all gave, you all or they gave. And vi, viste, vio, vimos, vistes, vieron is I saw, you saw, he, she saw, we saw, y'all saw, or they saw, or you all saw. Notice how they have no accents and they conjugate very, very similarly, meaning the only difference is one starts with a D and one starts with a V. And that is the preterite tense.